That kind of brought out another challenge I got for you guys. I'm going to open this video, right in my face, open this video for responses. You can post a response here, or if you're watching my videos, I'm probably already subscribed to you anyways. But exactly how'd you get your YouTube name? You had it for a while, did you just come up with it, or did you just randomly peck stuff on the keyboard? Yeah, there's some pretty good ones out there. Go back to the board here. Back to the 145 mile an hour speed limit sign. Shut your face. We know Tommy Shoe came up with that Yanko style emblem for those guys, but
okay, so here's the response for that, the Silverhorse 347 challenge. Iceman22ST, and where did it come from? I'm not really sure. I think it was just a random number of things on the keyboard. Just happened to have, you know, some numbers and some letters, and that's what it formed up. So pretty boring, but I think I'll show you a couple of pictures I dug out the other day. And this is my race car from 1992. And you know, we all had numbers. When I raced, there were designations of letters on the car, just to make it easier for people to tell, and the tech inspectors to tell what kind of car it was. So when we had studded tires, we had an S. And front engine rear wheel drive was a traditional drive, so it had a T. So I don't know. There's just a little bit of trivia on the letters that were on my race car, but I don't know where the 22ST came from. It's just a random thing. So a couple more shots of the car. And this race car had done a couple of seasons previously. And I had got it and I stripped it right down, literally to the bare metal, because it was, having been an old street car for years, it had had several paint jobs, and I think I took about 15 layers of paint and an equal number of primer off. There was so much, actually, that this line that Datsun 510s have, it's called a supersonic line, and that was almost disappeared. There was so much paint on the car. So, and Amber labeled these ones January 19th, 92. That was actually my sister's birthday, my sister that lives in Ottawa. So, this was the next weekend, and you can see the car was still relatively good. You can see a couple of ripples in the body here that weren't there originally. So there had been some minor incidental contact, but the car still looked relatively good. The only difference was this week I had added a small blue pinstripe in between each of the colors, which it didn't have on the original paint job. I just needed a little something. This is some of the action that happened. If you look right here, that number looked a little familiar. Yeah, I've been upside down. And Amber wrote comments in here. Guess who's upside down? and that's from the Interlake Spectator newspaper. And there they are, putting the car back up as I did the mandatory walk to the ambulance. In fact, there's the car upside down, and if you look, that's me right there walking to the ambulance with the paramedic. Just like NASCAR, we gotta go. So there they are, pushing it back over. You notice there's no back window in the car anymore. We used to put rear-facing fog lights on so you could see when you were coming up on someone, and I broke one of the tail lights. I had put them up here because back here they would get damaged sometimes. A couple pictures of the aftermath. You can see the front end damage. You can see the hood's wrinkled and it's flattened a bit there. And you can see every panel is damaged, including the roof. And the windshield is actually coming out there. Another picture just slightly lower. And they made the mistake of, the car rolled over on its driver's side, and when they put it back on the wheels, they did it on the passenger side, which then caused this damage. So every single panel on the car was damaged when they flipped it back. And this is a couple of weeks later, the next event. Unfortunately, when I took this picture, a little bit of the racing harness had been stuck, so the door didn't close, and I didn't notice it. But a friend of mine, for a joke, put that on the back of my car. Remove before flight. This is Scott's old race car. Friend of mine, Dave. And this car here, you can't really see it. Ron Schreier. He was a resident of Gimli, a great guy. Unfortunately, he died a number of years ago of cancer. There I am in the car getting ready for the grid, and you can just barely see that the tires are actually bolted. So let's see if I can find. So this is the see if I can get it here. It's not going to focus on that one. There we go, and you see there's something hanging out of the top of the car there. That's a checkered flag. And the next race, finishing, there's a checkered flag again. Scott and his tow vehicle, or that's Dave and his tow vehicle, I mean. There's Scott's tow vehicle. His sons raced and they had their own tow vehicle. There's my car, and my truck was back here, a trailer, so I pulled in kind of beside them. This was the last weekend of the year. It was the Trader Publications Ice Racing Championships, Canadian Ice Racing Championships. Knowing it was going to be a longer track, I took a chance and put some side draft SUs on the car. Unfortunately, I got what's called standoff, which is when the fuel flows back out of the carbs when you back off the throttle suddenly. And I had a cracked header, which I didn't know, and it lit everything up. So everything burned under here. So you can see that white, that's all from the fire extinguisher. And we spent 2 hours rewiring the car, welding the header, putting the other carbs back on. Got ready for the first lap of the big feature race, or the next race, I mean. And during that race, a couple guys got sideways and I center punched them and damaged the front of the car. So needless to say, this is Brad, he was my crew chief. This is Scott, one of my competitors, and here's Dave, one of the competitors, and you can see they were all helping me change the rad because that's the way we raced. We helped each other out. This is the actual 40-minute final race of the weekend. This was actually televised on TSN in Canada. This is an all-wheel drive Toyota, and there's me chasing down my friend Tim. And here's another shot. This is a tube chassis Saab Sonnet, full fiberglass body, 13B rotary, and a Porsche 911 transmission mounted in the front. So the back of that car only weighed about 80 pounds. It basically stopped the ass from dragging. There's me chasing Tim. Tim and I raced together a lot over the years, and you know, he's one of my best friends driving, and we had a lot of fun. And of course we, as a club, did get some coverage. This is an article that came out. When I first started ice racing, I was actually president of the four-wheel drive club, one of the local ones. And they wrote an article about whether 4x4s or anti-lock brakes or studded tires or winter tires were good. So they did an article and featured me. So they talked to me as a mechanic, and of course they misquote a lot of things. And then a couple years later I repainted the car. So this is the door that I have in the garage now, and you know what the Datsun doors are shaped like, and I'll see if I have a picture of this door somewhere that I can add to show you that it's not a convex door anymore. Yeah, you bet your ice I'm a tail wagger. No guts, no glory. So, let's see if there we're down in the pits. There's my my Suburban and my trailer. That trailer now is owned by Tim. And this car had a little boo-boo. Here's a picture of Tim's car. This car had got stuck at the apex of a corner, just around here, at the start. And with being a front-wheel drive car, they started first. So Tim and I, being rear-wheel drive, we started behind them. Going into corner one, which is this one, this guy stuffed it and left about 6 inches of his tail sticking out on the track, and I came by apexing the corner really tight, tagged him with the nose of the car, which knocked him through the snowbank, allowed him to drive back out. But meantime, I went sideways and Tim hit me in the driver's door. That's why the door is concave now. I'll see if I can show you some of the damage here. This was looking along the side of the car. This is the window frame from the door. This is the inside of the door. This seat used to be up against here. As you can see where the seat belt is. The whole seat and floor shifted over. Now, I don't know if I can get it clear enough. Maybe it'll zoom in on that. I'm going to see if I can get a good video. of what that tape measure says. I was measuring how far inside the car was. Now this is why Amber says I cannot paint a race car banana yellow anymore. If you look along the body of the car, this is the passenger side that was not hit. You can see this panel, the rear quarter, is not in a line with this panel here from the wheel arch to the door. It's curved. Then you notice the door is at a different plane again, and the fender is on yet a different plane again. The whole car is actually banana shaped. What did the driver's door look like? Well, this spot here was about 20 inches, I think it was, inside the car. So it was a substantial hit, which I don't really remember. This was the next weekend. Scott racing his car, and this is a car we called the Fridge because it was a tube-framed car. Really neat car, but it was covered in straight panels of aluminum, so it looked real boxy, like a freezer. And of course, the Z, this is the same Z that is in my possession now, the one I've been working on. This is the same car, and this is from the early 90s. Tim, we actually had a modified that was ice racing with us, which went like hell but wouldn't corner. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that car was renumbered to my number at 22ST. Now, to show you the different attitudes of cars in the corners, you can see the trees are basically the same in these shots. Okay, here's the line Scott would drive in a corner. Tail end way out, which, you know, it's fun, fairly fast. Tim didn't waste as much speed, or as much, he gained speed by not being sideways quite as much, as you can see here, compared to Scott. Now, Tim and I really raced similar styles, but when you look at the Z, which I was driving, look at the attitude there. Very straight. And finally, another picture of Tim. But there's Tim likely wishing that I hadn't borrowed another race car to finish the season. And there's me leading the pack. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of cars back here, but that's about as much as you can see of them. So, long story short, why was I called Iceman22ST? Well, I'm not really sure. Just luck of the draw, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so that's the door I have. And why am I called Iceman22ST? Well, I'm not really sure where the 22 or the ST came from. Or the Iceman. So, there you have it. Not really a story, I guess. And I guess I have to apologize for the sound quality of this video. It just sounds a little funny, but I don't know where the number in the ST came from, and I don't really know where the Iceman came from. You know, it just came to me in a dream, I guess, or just random typing on the boards. But I have no idea at all where the Iceman part came from. So anyway, take it easy. Hope that answered your question. Take it easy and have a good one.